I was a part of 4 different Lights Camera Learn programs this summer. Together with the team, I worked with 30 different interns to produce 22 original short films. And in the course of just 3 months, I worked with 242 individuals, students and filmmakers alike. Never before in my life had I ever made such an impact in such a short time. In fact, I don't think in my 23 years of life, I have directly impacted the lives of 242 people. And yet, because of our insistence upon change and our sole focus on seeing the world, being a part of it, I was able to do that. My name is Daniel Kelley. I'm 23 years old and I'm from Los Angeles, California. This is a story about my summer. In 3 months, I traveled to Israel, Palestine, Jordan, Tunisia, France, and Spain with an organization called Lights Camera Learn. I saw a lot, and I learned even more. In each of the countries we traveled to, we hosted these week-long summer camps for kids in which we taught English. With filmmakers, teachers, and students, we got to create original films. We'd always start our programs by just getting ridiculous with the kids. Games and activities to get them out of their shell and talking in English, to get them comfortable and silly. And we got just as silly as them. And then we taught these kids everything about film. How to write a script, how to act. We had them read through their scripts like 1,000 times to get them memorized. And we took their ideas, the realistic ones at least, and together we created movies. And making these films was amazing. By the end of each program, we'd made 2 or 4 or 10 films. We showed them all at these red carpet events, like a big Hollywood premiere. Everyone got to see the hard work they put in, especially the kids. From the time we met them, these shy 10 and 13-year-olds, we watched them evolve, get out of their comfort zones, become confident and inspired, and have a blast. Every kid was speaking English by the red carpet event, even if it was just their lines from the movie. These bright and talented kids, they would talk to us about what else they wanted to do with their lives into the future, now that they knew just what they were capable of. It was an amazing thing to see, an amazing thing to feel, that we were making a difference in the lives of these kids. This summer, I worked with 111 kids in Nazareth, 30 kids in Tunis, 38 in Paris, and 13 in Sevilla, for a total of 192 kids across 4 countries. In every new place I traveled, I found new wisdom, new stories. In Baca, this small town on the border of the West Bank, in the territory of Israel, where we lived and worked for our Nazareth program, we were welcomed into the community with open arms. We were invited into people's homes every night for dinner to play with their kids, to listen to traditional Palestinian music and dance the debke. They shared their customs with us, and so we shared ours.
Slide to the left, slide to the right, crisscross, crisscross, shot, shot, real smooth. Let's go to work.
I've never met a kinder or more generous place than I found in the Palestinian people, and none so open to sharing their lives with me. A bunch of American college kids with cameras. We were treated like diplomats, but more like family. But we also came to see the ugly side of life in the Middle East.
Cross the street, cross the street. Emma, hey. Come here. We'll just calm over here.
Emma!
Hey, man.
Slow down. It's the tear gas.
All good, it's all good.
I hope you're filming this.
I am. Autofocus so I can focus.
We visited Jerusalem a week after the US moved their embassy there. Ramadan had just begun, and the Old City, which is mostly comprised of Arabs, was out and about really late into the night. Walking out of the Damascus gate, we heard loud explosions on the other side of the Old City wall. When we made it through the gate, masses of people were running from the city. IDF soldiers were throwing tear gas into the crowds and chasing people down on horses. The rumor going around was that some teenagers were throwing water bottles at the soldiers. They responded with violence, and we were caught in the middle. None of us was hurt, but we all walked away with a very different understanding of Israel and Palestine, how deep and real the conflict is. In Jordan, we went on what can only be described as an adventure. After we left Israel, we spent a night in the capital of Amman and then traveled south to the Dead Sea. From there, it was into the ancient city of Petra and its wonders. We shared campfires and shisha with Bedouins and learned about the origins of Arabic.
So many words with different meanings from a word with the three letters.
Emma.
Amal, hope.
Yeah, Amal.
Hope.
Many hopes. Amal.
The local people here, okay, they don't have enough waiters to serve every one of us. So please help yourself and help the local. Feel like you're home, please. Feel like you're home.
We ended the program with one final night together in the vastness of Wadi Rum, about as far away from civilization as you can imagine.
1, 2, 3, go. Need you to be.
Tunisia, our team lived with 20 filmmakers from all around the country as part of a new film retreat that Lights Camera Learn was launching. It was a sort of experiment to see what would happen when we brought international filmmakers together with locals with the sole objective of creating art. We didn't know how it would work, if it would even work at all.
And a year from now, when we do it again, and we come back hopefully here and do this, we want to be able to say, if we did that last year for the first time, what can we do this time around? So
we called it So Arly. In the 6 days we spent together, we created 4 original short films. With these inspired, creative young people just like us, we became more than collaborators. And we proved how powerful filmmaking is as a common ground. We flew into Tunisia during Ramadan, so we got a chance to see the true character of the country in the Arab world. We all experienced the starkness and struggle of fasting in the heat of the day, juxtaposed against the celebration and vibrance of the night. Ramadan became something much more than someone else's holiday. It became our experience, and all its lessons of appreciation and generosity became our lessons. In France, we were out in the countryside at an old chateau, far away from the tourists in Paris. We spent our week with French camp counselors and celebrated Bastille Day in this village of a few hundred people. We were the life of the party. They even gave us champagne. We traveled to Paris the next day. We found space at a bar in the center city as the World Cup final began. 90 minutes of tension and the final whistle blew. 4-2, France. The city erupted. France won the World Cup, and we were in Paris to witness it. None of us think we'll ever see something like that again. In Sevilla, it was tapas and tourism in the heat of the Spanish summer, and ancient history on our morning commute.
My name is Daniel. It's 2018, and this is Jackass.
Before my last program ended, we visited a national park in the south.
Paddleboard interviews.
Lights, camera, like.
We celebrated in crystal blue waters, having seen the immeasurable beauty of the world spread across 3 months of travel.
We got it.
Actually, I'm gonna start with Zade. Zade. Woo! What are the weirdest locations you've had to film in?
Weirdest locations I've had to film in?
Yes, Lights Camera Learn.
Doing Lights, Camera, Learn.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, and action.
Lights, Camera, Learn.
In all of these places I went, the real differences, that culture shock that everyone tells you about, it didn't really become apparent until I'd spent time with the culture. But it wasn't shock I felt. Once we started to participate, to live as these people do, we began to learn. That's where we found out why things are the way they are, why people dress a certain way or speak a certain language.
Oh, that's cool. So strong.
And none of us were afraid or skeptical. We'd come to these countries to learn, to participate, to share, to interact, to question. And we found answers to our questions when we listened.
For more than a year, they came and put the wall in one day around the house. The children went to school. There were no walls. They came back, find themselves buried alive in a big tomb because of fleisches too. That's how it looks like.
These stories reminded me why I travel. The summer took me a million miles from my comfort zone, all across the spectrum of human experience. Excitement, wonder, loneliness, fear. I was working 24/7 from the moment I flew into Tel Aviv back in April. I was constantly surrounded by new people and new experiences. I went months without any of the things that keep me sane, like my family and Mexican food. But this journey was a spark for me to appreciate what I have now and what I had growing up. Some of these countries are so far beyond any place I've ever visited. Many of the people I met faced challenges I couldn't dream of. Some more severe than others. And yet everywhere I went, the people found happiness despite their struggles. In each other, in their religion, or their football team. I came to recognize my place in the world a lot better, and the responsibility I feel to work towards something good. Our world is a beautiful place. What makes it so beautiful is the people. This was a summer of connection. Everyone I met taught me something, shared with me their way of life or their way of thinking.
They were the locals who welcomed us into their countries and their homes, invited us to join them and their families, to become a part of their family. All our new friends in Baka and Benzert and Twasi and Tomares, in all these countrysides and suburbs and small towns I would have never visited. But because I did, some of these people will be my friends for the rest of my life. Oh yeah, and all the animals we adopted along the way. And of course, there were my fellow filmmakers. I had the privilege of spending my summer with these incredible people, these talented filmmakers and educators and students, each and every one passionate and curious about the world, how to be part of it, how to make it a better place. We were living and working and struggling together through these high-speed programs, wrangling dozens of kids on top of all the pressures of making films. And then we were sharing these crazy experiences of growth and change and learning when we hit the road and traveled into these unknown worlds where we didn't know the language and didn't know our way around. We became like a family. Maybe because no matter what happened, we were all in it together. The best part is, we got the entire summer on camera. I'm looking back through all this footage, and I'm thinking on what these 3 months meant. So much happened this summer. I taught English to hundreds of kids. I ran summer language programs in 4 countries. I helped to start a film festival and bring an organization into new frontiers. I fasted for Ramadan in Tunisia. I was tear-gassed by IDF soldiers in Jerusalem. I celebrated the World Cup victory in Paris. I traveled to 5 countries. I made a lot of mistakes, but I made so many friends, and I learned so many incredible things. I learned that our impact is as great as the stories we tell, that storytelling can be a tool for learning and peace. I learned that a place is not what we hear about it on the news. A nation is not defined by its borders, a culture not by its religion, a people not by their flag. I learned that strangers are just friends you haven't met yet, but the most important thing about the journey is the people you meet along the way. I learned that the best way to know a people is through the lens of its future. That kids' hopes and dreams are the same all over the world. That we have as much to learn from them as they do from us. Above all else, I learned that some truths cannot be seen through someone else's lens. That some stories aren't meant to be told, but lived.